Welcome, everyone. We have an extremely exciting show today. I have to tell you, when the topic was first proposed and I began to do research, I was hooked. It's like I need to know more about this. This could explain my life. And we have today Dr. Alexandra Swenson-Ridley. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that
Yes. No, you're good.
to speak to us about it and to really lift the weight out of many, many women all over the world, or at least explain what is going on. So, without further ado, let's get to it.
Empowering women on a global scale. Welcome to Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. Powerful Women Today is on a mission of inclusion, rewriting his story to include her story, and empowering, raising, and amplifying women's voices with professional speaking, publishing, original podcasting, and web TV. And now here's your host, the founder of Powerful Women Today, Carolina Billings.
Hi, Dr. Alex. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Dr. Alex is one of Powerful Women Today's newest and most exciting mentor expert. She is, well, she'll tell you how great, amazing accomplishments she has achieved. But the part that got me really excited when we first met was that you are a hormone transformation coach. Love
Yeah.
it. And I'll tell you why about it. Please, if you could let our friends and audience know about you and what is so passionate about selfless syndrome.
Yeah. Well, the big thing that's passionate about it. So I have quite the long educational career that started as a chiropractor, and I've since transitioned into really owning just coaching and mentoring because that's more my zone of genius, actually. But even when I was practicing as a chiropractor, I did a lot of pediatric and perinatal care in that realm. And I just kept seeing women that were burnt out, moms, grandmas, all of us were just exhausted and constantly giving of themselves and never having enough time for anything related to them, or they didn't even know what that was. Like it had been so long since they'd done anything for themselves. They didn't know what that looked like. And my own journey really led me down the path of hormonal chaos, and I finally connected all these dots that I just wrote this book, and so they had all finally came together, and like, oh, this is what the last decade of my life has been about.
Wow.
But it's an issue, I think, that so many of us face, and it's because we're bridging all these roles in our lives and in the world. And it's particularly an issue among high achieving women who are also driven in a career, I would say. So,
And you know what I love about your particular modality is that hormones, they've always been handled by men. It just
yes.
seems like, men and medicine, right? And it's almost like a solution to like a pill. Take a pill, right? Go
Mhm.
patch it up and deal with it. When in fact, what I love about it is that you speak of hormone transformation, meaning
Mhm.
A, you're in control. B, there's nothing to cure. It's just something
Yeah.
to manage, perhaps, and to understand. And I love that is the coaching of it. Because coaching means this is not a 30-second prescription pad solution. There's a
Right.
mind-body connection, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That needs to be made. So you are the only person I have come across that has made that connection, or at least that is speaking publicly about it. So tell me about your
Yeah.
journey to begin to, I mean, leaving a chiropractic practice, your medical, like not everybody does that. You know what I mean? To pursue advocacy, this is really advocacy. Talk about mental
Yeah.
health, right? So
Yeah.
tell us about that journey.
Oh, it has so many layers to it. So I built a huge chiropractic practice by the time I was 33, I think. We grossed just shy of 7 figures one year, and I bought this big building and remodeled it and like had all the I had arrived, right? I had all the things,
Oh,
and
indeed.
I walked up to my brand new office one day when we first moved in and looked around, and I just sat down and cried because going through all of that, I hadn't been listening to my gut, and I'd come out of a very difficult, emotionally abusive first marriage, and because I'd been escaping that whole part of my life in my job and in work and in the business I was building, and business was going great, but I'd created this thing that was for everyone else and really I didn't love it. And my thyroid was messed up. My hormones, I was putting on weight and couldn't get it off. I just was exhausted all the time. Like my quality of life was awful and not sustainable. And I recognized that, but I didn't really know how to change at that point. I felt very trapped because I employed a bunch of people and I had this building that I was now responsible for, and it was very challenging, we'll say. But the universe being what it was, it kind of created a sequela of events that allowed me to exit
here
and
today.
pivot and to be here today. They
Right?
weren't fun events, but
Yeah.
it needed to happen.
I love that you mentioned that. They were not fun events, right? But if you fall in love with the journey and the process and your truth, then everything, you come out okay at the end. You come out okay at the other end. So love it. Love everything you're saying. One of the things, and we're going to talk about, your book. You have a new book coming out.
Yeah.
Speaking about these, and of course you have a ongoing article in the Powerful Women Today magazine, and because this is revolutionary what we're talking about. And pay attention, ladies, pay attention. So the first thing of what you just said, which is the perfect segue into the science, because I love that now it's not about a victim mentality, right? The fact that you're feeling all these things is not because you're a victim. It's not because you're a narcissist. It's not because you're self-centered, right?
Right.
It's an actual physiological and biological connection to it. So what is selfless syndrome?
So it wasn't until I wrote the book, I've always defined it as, our innate desire as women to take care of everyone and everything else except ourselves. And really what it is it's a modern day stress response, because our initial response to stress, like if you look at any female mammal anywhere, is to make sure everybody's okay, right? Like
The next generation's taken care of.
Yep. Yeah. Like we got to make sure our people's good and our people are good. And then typically how we de-escalate from that is we sit down and we talk. There's this thing that women do in particular called tend and befriend. And we're missing that piece because we are so busy all the time. And so we are constantly just making sure everybody's okay, but we don't get any chance to de-escalate. And so as a result, we end up stuck in this, what I call the selfless syndrome cascade, where we hit exhaustion and then we hit overwhelm. And then eventually we hit resignation,
we keep going.
We just
right?
keep going. Like we just stay in this loop and there's no getting off the train. And, when you connect all that to hormones, like stress has a huge impact on our hormone balance, sex hormones and all of it, our thyroid, everything else. But, our hormones are very much a reflection of our environment, and that includes our internal environment. And so if our internal environment is just this constant stress ball, it's, you're going to be on hormone replacement therapy or one of these things that really doesn't help because it's not dealing with
really, it's so powerful what you just said. Let me repeat it to make sure that I understand it and that everybody who's non-sciencey gets it. So we may be triggering our very own hormone imbalance, right? So because we're not stopping to measure, we're not stopping to include us as one of the people that need to be nurtured and taken care of, right, by us,
right.
We are actually accelerating and triggering the hormonal imbalance that we then go and try to put a cure to it through pills or through some quick fix and just see it under, it's midlife change, or it's aging, right? So we're now kind of, I see the pressure cooker, because if we do not address what is triggering this, and now we put a medical induced alteration at the other end. Now they're going like this, right? And kind of like boiling in between. That is frightening. That is absolutely frightening. And then you crash, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't give your body a break, your body will break for
It
you.
creates one for one. I went through it.
One for
And
you.
it wasn't the most
Wow.
fun I've ever had in my life. So
So
yeah.
that is where you speak about the hormonal chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So in researching, haven't had the opportunity to read your book because it's just coming out. So you
Yes.
guys, whoever clicks on the link below will be the first people that get to enjoy Dr. Alex, incredible connection, just a new way of looking at things. But when I was reading about it, it speaks about the pressure that women either put themselves by other women, because I find that most of the time it is women that put the pressure on women, right?
Right.
That doing any kind of self-care is selfish, not
Yeah.
selfless. So could you break that down for us a little bit about
Yeah.
what message are we giving each other as women?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up in the context of how we relate to other women because, I think we are very competitive with each other and not a healthy way where, it's what you see on social media and we all want to be, if we're moms, my kid is coughing in the background, so sorry, but if we're moms, it's like, oh, you have to be, Pinterest perfect and all this stuff. And I think a lot of it comes from just our patriarchal programming and that we're, bridging this world of we're supposed to, still be the homemakers. Like it's really only been the last 50 to 60 years that women have truly like worked in the workforce. And so we're still supposed to be the homemakers and do all this stuff. And then, we're supposed to fit in a man's world and the business and corporate and all of that stuff. And
on your own business, because now that's
and own your own business too, which is also a man's world. Like you can't just do that the way a woman, like whatever feels good to you, right? And there's like this weird guilt thing that goes on in bridging those two worlds, and inside of that there's no room for like anything for us. And the catch 22 or the caveat is, we only show up as the best versions of ourselves when we actually make time for the things that refill our cup. And so we are just chronically not doing that because, we're either trying to one up someone else or, we feel like this is what we're supposed to do or what it should look like, or, and it's not really a life to live. Like I did that for a long time, working the 12-hour days with a young kid. I was a single mom and like, that wasn't.
It's not a life.
No,
right?
right, not at all.
You need to understand that there is, there are fiscal realities. There are, life realities, right? Like, when you have kids, there is a time when you're like at their busiest. Like I look back and I don't even know how I survived and I only had one when my son was little. But I was also in the C-suite, and I was also, I'm a proverbial student like you. So I was, in school trying to do self-development. But where you and I connected in our life history is that we both walked away from what culture tells us is your best life, right?
Yeah.
That we walked away. I always tell people that and I'm not making it about me, but I'm not going to apologize for it because it's part of the it's part of the owning your truth, right? As women, in that I'm not a rags to riches story. I'm a riches to rags that builds up the riches again, that goes to rags again, that goes to riches again, that goes to rags again on purpose, because each time is being a liberation of paper wealth. You know what I mean? Of like on a ledger, if you were to go, successful husband, there you go, check, check. Double income, check, check. House in the right suburb, check, check. And you keep C-suite job, check, check. In your case, it was your own practice. And you know what? I remember my ex-husband, bless his heart, threw a 40th birthday party for me. And when I took a look at the pictures, something cracked. Like I looked so sad. And all I could think of is there were so many things I wanted to do, but because I had taken on these portfolios that were now full-time, like full-time wife, full-time mom, full-time, executive, full-time, leader of the community, right? Like there were all these expectations that, who are you trying to impress? Who are you doing this for, right?
Yeah.
And it was at that point that I literally walked away from it all. And that was the beginning of Powerful Women Today. Because it's like, I need to find more women like me, right? I cannot possibly be in this alone, right? And since the movement's been around for 10 years, but, we've been a business for the last 5, and we've done close to 1 million social media imprints. Because whether women like to admit it or not, right? Mm-hmm. This doesn't feel right. It doesn't. So I want to speak about, so you now, go through these self-diagnosis. There's actually cues that tell you if your mind is what's triggering this, which is the part that I love the coaching, because you're speaking about behavioral modification here, right?
Yeah.
And my dogs are barking. See, this is how we roll, right? This is how we do everything. So, anyway, those are my fur babies now. Anyways, so say you now come to this awakening, you are now, whether it's because by chance or choice or life telling you this gotta stop, right? Has to stop. And you begin to, work with someone like you, right? What happens to the ecosystem that has loved Selfless, Carolina, right? And what happens to the ecosystem that just loves the giving, giving, giving? How do you begin to build allies around that?
Well, my answer, it's going to seem weird. I really, especially in the last year and a half, I've really gotten into this deeper understanding of cultivating internal safety. And when we can do that, because most of us are living, especially if we're high achieving women, we don't know what's going on below our head. Usually we just live up here all the time. And starting to really connect with your body and what it actually needs, it doesn't that's not even a conversation really anymore, is how do I balance the giving of myself and what I need. It's for the most part, when women come into the world of working with me, they're so far gone, they know something needs to change. And so do we still have some shifts to make? I work through a 3-pillar process where we shift, we stabilize, and then we sustain, because I'm about, this isn't the next thing you try. It's, this is your life and we need to make something that's sustainable and that has you be healthy and your hormones work and all of that stuff. And, sometimes there's big things we have to shift, like your career or a relationship that you're in. And that takes courage and it takes a willingness to do that. And my clients that do it faster or sooner than others take the jump generally heal more quickly than the ones who,
and this is where I love the coaching approach, because it is behavioral modification as much about your ecosystem as it is about you.
Yes.
Right? Because you now taught people how to treat you. And you've now taught people what to expect from you. And now you're switching things because you're realizing this is not healthy, it's non-sustainable, and, it's non-fulfilling. And you only get one life, right?
Yeah.
So I love the support that you bring in managing the entire process, right?
Yeah.
That is so, oh my God, that is so incredible. And there's so many elements, right? But because it could be cultural. It could be come from a culture where women just give and give and give and give. And if you show any sign of weakness, is frowned upon, right? And also generational. How do you relate to, your daughters or your granddaughters who now understand a different concept and have different expectations of what it means. You know, I recently posted a conversation between Miley Cyrus and Dolly Parton. They did a New Year special, and it's not about Miley and Dolly. The point is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we have these expectations in our head that, you know, the older you get, you're not as active, you're not as productive, you know, culturally, right? We seek the young, we seek the young. And what I love about that exchange, and I'm going to put it in the plug it in the comment, is because, you know, the younger lady, because it's not a culture, it's not a celebrity thing. The younger lady says to the older lady, "So what are your plans for this year?" And she turns around and she's looking at the board and she's saying, "And I'm going to build these and do these and write a book and do a course and do, you know, travel to these places." And the younger lady goes, "That is a lot to do in 1 year." And Dolly says, "Oh no, that is just January." Right? So the younger one looks at her book and it's like nothing. And she goes, "Oh, in September I wrote down meet a turtle. Not sure what I meant." So, you know, I was just so laughing at it, because, you know, there's all this messaging that comes from media that, you know, slow down, overwhelm, you know, all these like the whiplash, right? The reality is, you do you. If it doesn't feel right, if you're beginning to experience certain signs, this is why you need to read Dr. Alice's book or contact her. She's so generous. You're on LinkedIn as well. We'll, you know, put the link there. You know, it's so important that you do you. If your pace is 0 to 100 every single day, hey, and you're happy, and, you know, let's just check in to make sure that you're not going so fast that you don't have enough time to check in, right? Or if it's slow does it, then that's great. You know, let's just work with at your pace, and that's where the coaching comes in. So we're going to the top of the segment. Please close the show for us. Give us our takeaway, and we'll put all of the contact information above or below, depends on the channel. So go ahead, please.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing, I think you summed it up. It's about you and what you need, and you have permission to be part of your life is the big thing. And, you know, if I had any advice to give on where to start or how to, you know, start reclaiming some of your actually showing up for yourself in your life, because a lot of women are like, I don't even know what to do with that. Like, just start with a minute, you know, do something for you for 1 minute a day. Like it's very, we have to be willing to take some of that back, or we're going to continue. I mean, I didn't even get into, you know, where women's health is at in North America these days, but we're not going in a good direction. And a lot of it has to do with, it's not just about the pill or the diet or any of that. It's about how we actually show up in the world and what we're pushing ourselves through. So.
And the images and the media and the messaging that comes to women, right? So expect lots more from Dr. Alex as one of our mentor experts of Powerful Women Today. Thrilled that you have a recurring column on our magazine. You're going to come back and speak to us, and there'll be so many opportunities to connect. So thank you, everyone. Do what she says. The others say, do what she says. And thank you. Thank you for your generosity of time, and stay strong in 1 minute for yourself. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Empowering women on a global scale. This has been Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. To learn more about how you can join and transform your life and the lives of women everywhere with professional speaking, publishing, podcasting, and web TV, visit powerfulwomentoday.com. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen and watch your